Today, we're going to look at how we select a subset of the observations that we have in our data set and be able to look at and narrow down just some subset of those observations.
That sounds great. So we can basically grab the rows that we want.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is this is going to become something that we're going to call row selection. And this allows us to select just a subset of the rows based on features of the rows themselves or based on features of the data set. So what we're going to do is we could teach you hundreds of different ways of doing this. But what Pandas provides for us is something called the Pandas cheat sheet. And this cheat sheet is so important that I always have it next to my desk. I print it out on green sheets of paper. We'll have a link for you as well so that you can grab a cheat sheet of your own. But this is going to help us understand how we can run different commands using the Pandas library without needing to memorize hundreds of different things.
Yeah, we don't want you to have to memorize a bunch of different commands. So having this around when you're programming is a lifesaver.
We're going to dive into different areas of the cheat sheet throughout the series. And what we're going to dive into first is subset observations. So this is a subset of all of our rows and how we can select a subset of the rows. But before we actually start selecting data, we need to actually load the data. So using the classic formula that we've seen a few times now, we're going to go ahead and load the data by running our first cell to import the Pandas library, to import pandas as PD. Second line is going to be to read the file in using df is equal to pd.read_csv, then opening parentheses and putting inside quotes. Today we're going to work with the course catalog data set. So https://waf.cs.illinois.edu/course-catalog.csv. Close quotes, close parentheses. And then, as always, the third row should just be, or the third cell should simply be df to let us see what's in the data set. Did you load it up?
I just loaded it up and it is here.
Awesome. So this data set's going to have a number of different variables that we've talked about when we introduced this data set. So this is the course catalog of the University of Illinois, which includes every course offered. And there's, I think, over 8,000 of them.
Over 8,000, yes.
So we have the year, the term, the subject, the number, and the name. So Carly, can you think of something we might want to do with this data set?
Yeah, so I'm faculty in statistics, so maybe I want to look at all the stat courses.
Awesome. So to do that, we can look at the cheat sheet and we can see that the very first thing on the cheat sheet says extract rows that meet a logical criteria. So we're going to dive into what that logical criteria is more later in this series. But to answer Carly's question, we can simply say in our fourth cell, we want to look at the data frame and then we're going to follow the syntax. So the df, then we're going to open a square bracket, and following the syntax here, we have df dot subject, and we include subject here because we need to match what we want to search for as the name of the column header, the variable name.
Yeah, so I only care about the courses where the subject is stat. I don't want to look at these 1,000 other courses that don't meet that criteria.
In computer science, we now are going to say we want where the subject is equal to, and because we use a single equals when we're assigning a variable, when we're comparing variables, we'll use double equals.
Perfect.
So df.subject double equals, we'll open up quotes and say stat.
And then can I go ahead and run it?
If you close your brackets.
I definitely did. So let's see. And when I go ahead and do that.
So before you even tell us, I expect to see only stat courses and only the courses that start with the subject stat. So when earlier we saw the data set began with AAS, now we should see the data set begins with stat as the very first row. And what do you get?
And that is exactly what we got. And it ends, if I scroll down, I can actually see all of the rows where the subject is stat, and it ends with stat 599. I guess that's our thesis research course.
Awesome. So there's a number of other subset observations. And one thing that I think is really interesting to look at is we have a ton of courses at U of I. Let's say that you're a random student and you want to take 5 courses completely randomly. So another way to look at this cheat sheet is there is this great df.sample command df.sample randomly selects in rows. So this sounds like something we can help us design experiments.
Ooh, yeah, we've talked about random sampling for sure. So let's go ahead and do that. Maybe it's a blow off semester at the end of your senior year and you want to take 5 random courses.
So Carly mentioned 5 courses. So what we'll go ahead and we'll look at this data set, this DF again. And again, following the syntax, it's DF. We're asking from this DF. We want a sample from this data set, df.sample. And in parentheses, we're going to say the number of samples we want in is equal to 5. So we want 5 samples from this data frame.
And I really like, Wade, that you guys use N as well, because in statistics, you'll often see N represented as the sample size. So that makes perfect sense.
So if we run this line of code, we should only see 5 courses returned. And what 5 courses are you going to take next semester, Carly?
Ooh, let's see. Okay, so SHS 280.
So speech and hearing science 280.
Yep. Math 599, which is the math research class, thesis research. So I guess I'm getting a PhD in math. Jazz keyboard studies, a music class, an art class, and a mechanical engineering heat transfer class.
Okay, so we've got quite a range of courses.
Very random.
So the big thing about having a random course, though, is if we rerun this line of code, so we're not running a new line of code, we're simply going back to line 5 and running it again, because it randomly selects 5 courses. This is truly random. We should see with only a very, very low probability would any one of these 8,000 plus courses appear again. What we most likely see is if Carly reruns this line, we're going to get a whole different set of 5 courses. So can you do that?
For sure. Let's see. So now I have a finance course, a sustainable earth course, another art course, but it's a different one. This is a drawing course. VM, honestly, I don't even know what that is.
Veterinary medicine, actually.
Oh, okay. And an English course.
Awesome. So you can see that it took this data set, randomly selected 5 observations or rows from this data set, and displayed that when we asked the data frame to sample simply 5 observations. There's a number of different ways that we can select a subset of our data, and we're going to dive into more of these throughout examples when we talk about the different ways we can subset our data.
Good luck using the Pandas cheat sheet.